Welcome to the Reiki Coach on Call podcast. I'm Mary Riposo, a Reiki master, teacher, mentor, and author, and I give Reiki practitioners the tools they need to get their healing work out into the world. We're continuing our discussion on the business of Reiki. In the last episode, I talked about selling products in your Reiki business. And today, our focus is on hosting events as a business path. I'll give you the pros and cons, as well as what you need to get started with hosting events. I'll share a personal story about how I started hosting events within my Reiki business, and I'll help you figure out if hosting events is the right path for you. Welcome into my office. I'm sitting at my desk having some green tea, one of my favorites. And to go with it, I have, or should say I had, a couple of delicious chocolate mochi. I popped them out of the freezer, but they thaw pretty fast, so unfortunately, they're history now. But they were amazing. I think I'm all set, so grab a seat, pour a cup of tea for yourself, and let's talk Reiki. The possibilities are almost endless when it comes to hosting events in your Reiki business. You've probably heard of or attended some type of Reiki event, like a Reiki share or even a Reiki retreat. But have you ever thought of hosting an event for yourself? If you have, I bet you have a bunch of questions swirling around in your head about how it all works. You're probably wondering about the pros and cons and whether this is the right path for you. But don't worry, you're not alone. Stick with me and we'll go over everything you need to know about getting started hosting events. So first, let's take a look at the upside to hosting events, and then we'll go over any pitfalls you might face before deciding whether it's a business path for you. Hosting events can be a great addition to your Reiki business. They can give you an additional revenue stream to add to your bottom line, and at the same time, they can build confidence, create a positive impact, and provide you with recognition and respect as a leader in your field. There's no limit to the type of events you could hold within your Reiki business. Some events you might consider hosting include Reiki shares, clinics, conferences, retreats, and fairs. So let's go over what they are and how they work. Let's begin with Reiki shares. Reiki shares are where a group of people get together to experience the benefits of Reiki. Some Reiki shares are exclusively for those who have been trained in Reiki, and others include everyone, whether or not they have training. Reiki shares give those trained in Reiki an opportunity to gain practice outside of family and friends or having a professional practice. Reiki shares can be held in person or online. They can be a one-off or a regularly scheduled event, like monthly or even weekly. Next, we'll look at Reiki clinics. Reiki clinics are events where a group of Reiki practitioners offer sessions to the public. The sessions are usually briefer than a typical Reiki session, and the price tends to be lower. Reiki clinics often have the goal of providing access to Reiki for those who could not afford it otherwise. The clinicians working in the clinic might be fully trained Reiki practitioners or even students in training. Normally, Reiki clinics are held in person. Reiki clinics are usually ongoing events, meaning that they happen on a regular basis, like monthly or even weekly. What about Reiki conferences? Reiki conferences are where a group of professionals come together to give talks on topics related to Reiki practice. The talks can be research-based or focused on helping Reiki practitioners gain additional skills. Some offer choices of sessions to attend, while others have a set schedule for everyone to follow. There are usually opportunities for networking as well. Reiki conferences or summits can be held in person or online, or a hybrid of both. Reiki conferences can be a one-off or scheduled regularly, like once a year. So now let's go to Reiki retreats. Reiki retreats are where practitioners gather at a special location to practice and immerse themselves in the healing energy. Retreats could involve learning activities as well as time for yourself to get pampered or have quiet introspection. Reiki retreats are usually held in person, but can be hybrid. They typically include meals, lodging, and gifts. And like many other Reiki events, they can be a one-off or happen on a regular basis, such as once a year. And now finally, let's look at Reiki fairs. Reiki fairs are in-person events typically where the public can come and get a taste of what Reiki is all about. At Reiki fairs, there are usually offerings such as mini sessions, talks, demonstrations, informational booths, and guided experiences. You may also find Reiki-related items for sale, such as books, crystals and stones, sound healing supplies, banners, and music. And like many other Reiki events, they can be a one-off or happen on a regular basis, such as once a year. So let me give you my top 3 pros of hosting events in your Reiki business. Number 1, they build confidence. Hosting events in your Reiki business can really give you a confidence boost. I know it did for me. In the beginning of my Reiki journey, I was super shy. I wasn't comfortable with groups, so hosting events wasn't on my radar. But as I taught more students, they kept telling me that they wanted more opportunities for practice. And that's when I started hosting Reiki shares. They filled a need for my students, and that gave me confidence knowing that I was helping people. Then, when I realized that many people in my community weren't able to afford regular Reiki sessions, I decided to host a monthly Reiki clinic. My students were looking for opportunities to practice, but weren't ready to go out on their own. So they volunteered at the clinic. It was a win-win-win situation. My students gained skill and confidence in their practice. I gained confidence in hosting events, and the public received low-cost Reiki sessions. So the second pro is they create a positive impact. So one of the most rewarding aspects of hosting events is the opportunity to make a difference in the lives of others. By seeing clients or teaching classes, there's no doubt you'll have a positive impact on people's lives. But when you host events, the impact is so much greater. It can give you a deep feeling of satisfaction to know that you've touched so many lives just by offering one event. Okay, so the third pro of hosting events is they provide recognition and respect. As the host of a Reiki event, you'll automatically be seen as an authority in your field. As you get more experience hosting Reiki classes, you'll gain the respect of others, and more people will be drawn to your events. You'll get more referrals and more opportunities to collaborate with others. And you'll be held in high esteem as people remember the positive experiences they had at your event. So as you can see, there are a lot of great reasons to host events in your Reiki business. But are there any downsides? Well, there can be. It all depends on which type of event you host, as well as a number of other variables. Some events will have relatively few downsides, where others might be riskier. So here are the 3 main downsides to hosting events. 1, they require a good deal of planning and organizational skill. If you host events, whether for small or large groups, you need to have your ducks in a row. Most events have a lot of moving parts, and you need to make sure you have everything covered so things go smoothly. It takes a lot of attention to detail, so if you're the organized type, you'll do great. But if you don't have the time or skills to pull it off and still want to host events, it's best to hire it out to ensure success. Number 2, they generally take a lot of lead time to sell. For example, If you're hosting a retreat or a conference, you'll need to market and sell it for months leading up to the event. That requires a lot of patience, and you must be okay with the fact that the money will probably trickle in during that time, with the majority of registrations coming in just under the deadline. In contrast, if you're hosting a Reiki share, the lead time will likely be much shorter. So if you're not flush and need to rely on money coming in more regularly to make the bills, then wait until you can swing it to host events, especially the higher priced or more involved ones. Number 3, they can be riskier because if they fail, you could be out a lot of money, time, etc. So consider this scenario. You're hosting a Reiki retreat that's out of town and requires you to put down a deposit for the space, the caterer, and your own lodging. You also need to get your own transportation to the event. You've blocked out a chunk of time on your calendar and have no other activities scheduled, which also means no other money coming in. You put a bunch of money into advertising and you wait for the people to sign up. You have a minimum number of signups needed in order to make it a go, but registrations are trickling in and it's getting close to the deadline. When the deadline hits, you don't have the numbers you want. Do you cancel and refund those who already invested? Or do you go ahead with it and lose money? It's a difficult decision to make. So the risk will all depend on how much you've invested into the event. Despite the risks, hosting events can be a great addition to your Reiki business. But I bet you're wondering, how profitable are they? Well, it depends on several factors. And although I can't give you specific advice because I don't know your situation, I would say in general, the way to gauge whether an event is profitable is to add up how much it costs to put it on and subtract that from how much money you make from hosting it. So let me give you an example. Say you host a Reiki conference. You would take the cost of advertising it and putting on, and then you would subtract that from the money you made on registrations as well as any other money coming in from the conference. That will tell you if it's profitable. And from my experience, the direct profit from hosting events in your Reiki business can be pretty minimal. Smaller events don't offer much of a profit margin, and larger events are usually not very profitable because they have a lot of upfront costs and take a lot of time to plan and deliver. But although you may not make a ton of money, there are other advantages, including visibility and increasing the know, like, and trust factor. So, should you go for it? My short answer is maybe. Hosting events can be a good addition to your Reiki business as long as you keep in mind the risks. Now, I bet you want to know what you need to get started hosting events. Well, I've created a quick start checklist for you, which I will share in a moment. But like we always do, first, let's take a Reiki break. A Reiki break is great to do anytime you feel the need to relax and come back to center. You're invited to participate whether or not you've been trained in Reiki. So put everything aside, including all your thoughts and concerns. Place your hands somewhere comfortable on your body. And if it's safe to do so, gently close your eyes. If not, you can keep your eyes open. This will work either way. Now begin to take some deeper, slower breaths. Consciously release any tension you might be holding. Feel the healing essence of Reiki activating within you, flowing through you, within you, and around you. Coming fully into the present moment, the only moment there is. Feel yourself rooted to the earth, completely at home in your physical body. and feel your connection to spirit, open to higher guidance, and feel a deep compassion for all beings everywhere. Resting in this space of grounded, spacious compassion. And now begin to come back by bringing your awareness to your eyes and taking some deeper breaths and coming back fully now. That was so great. I feel so much more relaxed and present now. All right. So, where were we? Okay. I almost forgot. That's what happens sometimes when you practice Reiki. Time and space can fall away. So, this episode's quick start checklist is brought to you by the Reiki Business Finances Tracker. I created the Reiki Business Finances Tracker to help Reiki practitioners like you stay on top of your income and expenses. That way, you'll always know the financial health of your Reiki business, whether it's a hobby, a side hustle, or a full-time practice. I'll drop a link nearby for the Reiki Business Finances Tracker, so make sure to look for that. All right, so now for my quick start checklist with hosting events in your Reiki business. Number 1, choose an event. So decide which type of event you want to host. If you're new to events, I recommend starting small. Hosting Reiki shares can be a good way to begin, as they're lower risk and don't take as much time, organization, or planning as bigger events. But at the same time, they can help you get started with events, and you can learn as you go. If you've hosted other non-Reiki events in the past and have good planning and organizational skills, why not try your hand at hosting a higher ticket event, such as a conference or a retreat? Number 2, plan it out. Once you've decided on the type of event you want to host, open a document and begin to outline as many details as you can. This is the time to brainstorm. Include the date or dates when you'd like to hold the event, as well as the location and a list of items you need to purchase or source for the event. You should also gather contact information for people you need to reach out to. For example, for booking the location, catering, transportation, supplies, collaboration partners, things like that. Make your plan as detailed as possible. Number 3, crunch the numbers. Once you have as many details as possible, now it's time to crunch those numbers. I recommend opening a spreadsheet where you can begin calculating expenses as well as income. For example, your costs might include the space, food, supplies, transportation, advertising, and any extras. Your income will include how much you might expect to receive from registrations, as well as any other extras you might sell, like your products or services. Some of this will be determined by how many registrations you expect to receive. Once you crunch the numbers, you'll have a better idea of how much to charge and what your minimum number of participants will be. Ideally, you want your event to be profitable, so you want the total expenses to be well under the income you make. Make sure to have a buffer, since there are always unforeseen expenses that come up. Number 4, create a timeline. Okay, so now that you have a plan and you know your numbers, start creating a timeline for your event. I recommend planning well in advance to give yourself the best chance of success. The size of the event will determine how far in advance to start planning. With larger events, such as retreats or conferences, you may need to start as much as a year ahead. For Reiki shares, you might be able to get away with 4 to 6 weeks lead time. So take a look at your plan and create a timeline for when each task needs to be accomplished. Then open your calendar or create a spreadsheet and plot out the dates. And number 5, launch your event. Now that you have a timeline, all you need to do is follow it in order to launch your event successfully. It's that straightforward. I know it might seem tedious to do all the steps I just outlined, but if you do, you'll be less likely to make any major mistakes or miss anything important. That means your event will be more likely to succeed. And what's even better, you'll have a template that you can use over and over again. All you need to do is adjust the dates as well as any other details. So let's recap. To get started hosting events in your Reiki business, you'll need to 1, choose an event, 2, plan it out, 3, crunch the numbers, 4, create a timeline, and 5, launch the event. I hope you feel more inspired to start hosting events in your Reiki business. I know you can do it, and I'll be there cheering you on. If you need a little more help, contact me to schedule a mentoring call. And make sure to check out the Reiki Business Finances Tracker. In the meantime, subscribe so you'll never miss an episode. And I'll see you next time for the Reiki Coach on Call podcast.